Back during the summer of 2020, Taylor Heinicke was sleeping on his sister's couch, worn down from chasing a dream that didn't really seem like it wanted to be caught. He was tortured by his only NFL start at the time, a game where he would throw 3 interceptions and partially tore his tricep. It got to the point where he was telling friends and trainers he was retired. Taylor didn't know who he was and even called the Washington football team asking if they had any coaching positions open. He was told he needed to finish his degree first and not to give up just yet. Taylor told the Washington Post, "There were some days where I just felt down and didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Quite honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do after football, so that was kind of stressful. There were some times where my sister was like, 'Get the hell out of here. Go take another walk. Do something.'" Heinicke had decided he was going to go back to school and finish his degree, believing his career was done. Then, in early December, his phone rang. Before we continue the story, we need to go back in time to understand how we got here. Taylor Heinicke was born on March 15th, 1993, and grew up in Suwanee, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. When Taylor was going into 9th grade, his father Brett decided to reach out to the new Collins Hill head coach, Kevin Reach, to see if his son could get an early look at the playbook. It amazed Coach Reach that a 9th grader wanted to get his hands on the playbook so early. That was the moment Reach knew Taylor was a student of the game and could be a special player down the road. It took 2 years of sitting behind eventual UConn quarterback Michael Box before Taylor got his opportunity to take over the starting quarterback job. While it usually takes most high school quarterbacks to get a full understanding of the game plan on a Wednesday or Thursday, Heinicke would already have a full understanding of what was going on Monday afternoon. Reach told the Washington football team he already knew who his key reads were, what he needed to do with the football. If the will linebacker drops, he knew to hit the shallow route. If the will linebacker locked on, he knew to hit the dig. It allowed Coach Reach to open up the whole offense and allowed Taylor to read the whole field rather than 1 or 2 reads. As a junior, Taylor led Collins Hills High School to a 10-4 record in the Class 5A semifinals. He finished the year being named All-State. Going to his senior year, Taylor appeared on a reality TV show called The Ride, which aired on MTV2. Let me know if you want me to do a video on that TV show below. During his senior year, Heinicke competed against some of the best Georgia football had to offer, and Collins Hill had the toughest schedule in the state that year, going against local powerhouse Brookwood and ML King. Against Brookwood, Taylor threw for a touchdown on the first play after breaking a tackle. Finished the year with 9 300-yard games that year and broke the Gwinnett County single-season record for yards with 4,218 and touchdowns with 44, which were both second and third most in state history, respectively. Reach told the Washington football team, "I think he's just a true competitor. I think he thrives on the big-time situations. He played his best in the biggest high school games we had. He played his best games in the biggest college games he had. The more pressure he gets, the cooler and calmer he gets. His attitude was contagious, and it's what led to him being a great leader. He didn't say much, but when he did, his team listened." He finished his high school career with a 19-7 record. Taylor Heinicke's recruitment is kind of a crazy story. Like I already mentioned before, he competed on The Ride, a reality TV show that led to a player earning a spot in the US All-American Bowl, but he would not win the spot. Heinicke was an unranked recruit coming out of high school with no Division I offers. That was until Earl Williams ran into the vice president of Old Dominion, Alonzo Brandon, who was traveling back from watching Old Dominion play Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. The two happened to be on the same van going from the rental car area to the gate. Brandon was wearing an Old Dominion hat, so Williams decided to strike up a conversation with him, telling the Virginia pilot, "I figured he was another football dad like me. My son plays wide receiver for Morehead State, and I had been at a game at Marist. I asked Mr. Brandon if he had a kid playing at ODU. When Williams figured out who he was, he decided to talk up a young athlete he was training in the suburbs of Atlanta. I told him I was working with a young quarterback that ODU might want to take a look at. I told him, Mr. Brandon, that Taylor Heinicke was on the verge of what could be a great season. Old Dominion needed to get in on the front end of his recruitment. The two exchanged business cards. When Williams got home, he reached out to Brett Heinicke and told him to slip ODU some info and send some film and do it now. Old Dominion reached out shortly after. Unknown to the public at the time, ODU's backup quarterback, Dominique Blackman, was making some serious noise about possibly transferring, so the Monarchs needed another quarterback. Although Heinicke was putting up big numbers in one of the biggest classes of Georgia football, he was only 6'1" and 182 pounds. Taylor had been a Georgia Bulldogs fan his whole life and spoke on the unofficial visit saying, "I made an unofficial visit to Georgia when I was a junior and sucked air into my lungs and puffed out my chest the entire time I was there. And when I went to summer football camps, I always tried to stand on my tippy toes when they measured me." Old Dominion became the first school to offer Taylor, and he would visit the school on December 11th. 8 days later, he committed to Old Dominion, and 10 days after that, threw for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 22-0 win in the Georgia All-Star Game. Reach told the Virginia Pilot, "There are going to be a lot of schools out there in a few years saying to themselves, 'We blew it. We could have had that kid.' And they could have. We were pushing for Taylor hard. When people continued to pass on him, we were like, 'Are you kidding me?' I really believe if one Division I school had offered him, they'd all have been knocking down the door. But it didn't happen." Taylor would not disappoint Monarch fans, though. Taylor won the starting job at Old Dominion as a freshman and led the Monarchs to a 10-3 record, throwing for 2,385 yards, 25 touchdowns and 1 interception, while also rushing for 363 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. The Monarchs would lose to Georgia Southern in the second round of the playoffs, and Heinicke would be named to the All-CAA third-team offense and was the National Freshman Performer of the Year. During his sophomore year, Taylor threw for an FCS record 5,076 yards, 44 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, while also rushing for 470 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. In the game against New Hampshire that year, Heinicke threw for a Division I record 730 yards and 5 touchdowns. Heinicke was named an All-American, CAA Offensive Player of the Year, and the Walter Payton Award winner, while Old Dominion finished the year 11-2, losing in the quarterfinals of the playoffs to Georgia Southern once again. In 2013, Old Dominion was transitioning to Conference USA and played the season as an independent team. The Monarchs finished the year 8-4, while Taylor threw for 4,022 yards, 33 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, while also rushing for 348 yards and 5 touchdowns. As a senior, Heinicke led Old Dominion to a 6-6 record behind his 3,476 yards, 30 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, while also rushing for 2 touchdowns. He finished third all-time in FBS history with 16,279 yards of total offense, fourth in FBS history with 132 career touchdown passes, and sixth all-time with 14,959 passing yards. Heinicke went undrafted in the 2015 NFL Draft, but signed with the Minnesota Vikings to compete against Mike Kafka to be the Vikings' backup. After Kafka got hurt, Taylor would be named as third-string quarterback before suffering an off-the-field injury. He would be activated on November 8, 2016. Going to the 2017 season, Taylor was waived by the Vikings, signed and released by the Patriots practice squad, and signed by the Texans practice squad. On December 25, 2017, he made his NFL debut, completing his only pass attempt before suffering a concussion. During the following offseason, he would be waived by the Texans and claimed by the Panthers. During the 2018 season, Heinicke played in 6 games and was named the starter against the Atlanta Falcons, throwing for 274 yards, a touchdown and 3 interceptions, and suffered an elbow injury. Heinicke was released during the final roster cuts going into the 2019 season. Taylor Heinicke would then sign with the XFL, being allocated to the St. Louis Battlehawks, but lost the starting job to Jordan Teamu. He started wondering whether the game had passed him by. Now, we are back where we were at the start. On the other end of the phone was Taylor's agent, who was wondering if Heinicke was ready to play some football. Taylor told the Washington Post, "In my mind, I was like, you know what? You're going to get one more opportunity. Just make sure you're ready for it." So that's been going through my mind for the last year and a half. In his first career start, Taylor Heinicke went toe-to-toe against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, bringing Washington within 2 on a crazy touchdown scramble that could have ended his career. After his electrifying start, Heinicke and Washington agreed to a 2-year deal, and so far this season he has thrown for 1,928 yards, 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, while rushing for 232 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground in 8 games and 7 starts. Heinicke has given Washington a chance to win, and he is starting to prove he is a talented quarterback. And there's one thing Taylor Heinicke doesn't have, and that's fear of failure, because he never expected to have this opportunity. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.